Everyone, what is going on? It is Crypto Bobby. Hope you are having a fantastic Saturday wherever you might be watching in from, or if you're watching the recording of this, wherever you might be watching the recording in from as well. Thank you so much for taking the time to join me today. I wanted to pop in for, like I said, a nice little Saturday afternoon edition of Crypto Happy Hour here to hang out, talk a little bit about what's been happening in the marketplace right now. Obviously, a lot of interesting developments with, in many respects, Bitcoin taking the, maybe with many respects, Bitcoin taking the lead in the market right now. Bitcoin up about 5% over the past 24 hours and has continued a really nice run. A lot of the altcoins have been lagging, especially in comparison to Bitcoin. So I want to talk about all of that today. What's up, Garrett? What's up, August, Adam, George, Curtis? What is up? What is up? Looks like, yeah, Curtis mentioned Bitcoin private opening up around 2:30. I think the fork has gone through. I have no idea what the opening is. If it opened up at 2:30, that's pretty solid, because it's almost been impossible unless you were pretty much the top buyer of Bitcoin private. Then you didn't really lose any money if you just held on to that. And yeah, guys, if you are brand new to the channel, hit that subscribe button, the notify bell. If you've been here for a while, hit that like button so this gets out to as many people as possible on this this pretty nice Saturday. And apologies for the lack of content yesterday. I was trying to go skiing yesterday, and the power in New York, because of the snowstorm that happened, the power in my Airbnb and the power at the mountain that I was at just completely went out. So I got 3 or 4 runs of skiing in, and then power went out, and that was it. And I slept with no power and slept in full. So that was that was funny as hell. But I'm back and I have power and we're all good to go. So happy to be back. Skiing was fun though, so appreciate the patience. Taking a look at some of these questions here. Yeah, Neil said, man, you time moving a portion of Bitcoin and Monero. Well, I think that it definitely turned out to it turned out nicely. I'm not going to sit here and say, hey, that didn't suck. I made a video 2 days ago and said, hey, I want to start heavily weighting myself more in Bitcoin, more in Monero. Bitcoin has led the way, and Monero has been following suit nicely as well. So that's been fantastic to see. I don't want to say I lucked out, but kind of lucked out a little bit. I mean, I'm not a genius by any stretch. I just figured that with some of the regulatory issues that are going on, people are going to be more and more apt to start moving their money into Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies that can't potentially be affected by those ICO regulations that came down from a lot of those, from that are starting to be rumored to come down as well. So definitely something that we can touch on. One thing that I thought was interesting too, just on, if any of you guys use on-chain FX, and not paid, sponsored, whatever, but they added short-term ROI to their calculation, so you can actually now see 7-day change, 30-day, 90-day, and 1-year change, which is kind of nice. Good to see that. Good to see some new additions from the data set to on-chain FX, and I'll definitely start playing around with them a little bit more. And I have a 30-day change, and that's what I was talking about too. I mean, with some of these altcoins in the past month, everybody is always waiting for altcoin season. Everybody's always waiting for altcoin season, and it hasn't obviously come since early January. That was the peak. Like, first week of January was the peak. December to first week of January, November to first week of January was the bottom of the alt run, all the way up to the top, and alts have basically been on a free fall ever since then. So I think a lot of people are heavily invested in altcoins, and they want the altcoin season to come. They want altcoin season to come, and right now I think Bitcoin still has a little bit of room to go before that happens. And everybody, nobody cares that much if Bitcoin goes up 2x or 3x, because when you talk about alt season, you're like, oh, I'm going to make a 5, 10, 15x. That's a lot more appealing. That's a lot more exciting. That's a lot more interesting than maybe getting a 2x out of Bitcoin. So I think a lot of people are more on the side of heavily invested in alts. But I do think that, like, for me, having a percentage of my portfolio in Bitcoin is always a smart thing to do. Give me 1 second here, just making sure on my phone. making sure on my phone that everything's working. And I don't have the comments on the side today, so if you're watching the recording, I don't have the comments or the chats on the side. Apparently with YouTube now, they're saving the recording, so if you watch a recording of this later, you'll see the comments somewhere. So hopefully that works out. If not, I'll readjust that in a later episode. So taking a look on thoughts on BitConnect. It's not dead yet, Adam. Like, what are the thoughts to have about BitConnect? It's just dead. So taking a look at good question, John Van Loon. What can a trigger for alt season what can be a trigger for alt season to start? I mean, I think it's a couple things, but at least when you saw it previously, with the run for Bitcoin, so at least, I mean, if we pull up the Bitcoin dominance chart, and this is definitely flawed in a lot of respects, but if we pull up the past, maybe we're gonna need more than 3 months. So if we dive back in here to around like mid-September, which was where kind of Bitcoin bottomed out at about 45%. It went all the way down, kind of removed June and the whole Ethereum thing, removed that. But if you look at around September, after all the China FUD kind of finished out and everything moved from there, from mid-September all the way up to like mid-December, Bitcoin just went on an absolute tear, and a lot of the altcoins just got their absolute faces smashed off. On the other end of the spectrum, as soon as kind of Bitcoin somewhat peaked around 15-20K, I think a lot of people started taking profits from Bitcoin and redistributing those to the altcoins, and that redistribution of profits from Bitcoin to the altcoins did two things. Number one, it dropped the price of Bitcoin. So the price of Bitcoin kind of slowly started dipping from the all-time high of about $20,000 down quite a bit, because people that were in Bitcoin were saying, or some people, I think, or a good amount of people that were in Bitcoin were saying, okay, I've made a bunch of profits here. What's the next thing? Is there something that's just gotten absolutely worked and is a really good value and really, really solid asset to acquire? And when that happened, a lot of people, the buying pressure on the altcoins went up, and started to create a FOMO run while Bitcoin dipped a little bit. And I think that might happen again. I think that I'm in some cases betting for that to happen again. I am pretty heavily weighted right now on Bitcoin and Monero, and I do think that there is going to be a time where if Bitcoin can break through 12 grand, I think we're going to start seeing a little bit more FOMO again. And as the FOMO occurs, more people start exiting their altcoins and throwing that into Bitcoin because it's hard to resist FOMO. And as that happens, price of Bitcoin goes up and goes up and goes up. And then it's going to get to a certain point in time where people are going to say, okay, Bitcoin is as profitable of a trade as I need it. I need to redistribute that money elsewhere, and I'm going to move that to some depressed altcoin, and that's going to maybe redo the cycle. We'll see if that happens, but that's kind of what I felt like from a psychological level happened in the last time. And Ulf mentions need a bit more for alt season to kick in. I do think so too. I think a lot of people mention altcoin season and get really excited about it, but I still think there's a lot of pain to come. I do think there's a lot of pain to come and happen at this point in time. Trying to get to as many of these questions as I possibly can. If you have anything you absolutely must have answered, throw it in a super chat, and I will definitely get to it there. But Gary Gabriel mentioned thoughts on Tomo Coin. So I know my guy Donnie Crypto is a big fan of Tomo Coin, and I think participated pretty heavily in the ICO. I believe Tomo Coin has done really well post ICO. I have no investment in Tomo Coin, but I'm not opposed to. Let's see, is it? I don't know what I think it's live if I'm not mistaken, but yeah, I think Tomo Coin has done solid, and Donnie was one of the guys that was kind of beating that drum. So you participate in that ICO, then good on you for sure. Do I think Kirk Cousins will join the Jets? I'll take it if he does. If not, I'll take me some Baker Mayfield. Need a quarterback. Hassan mentioned thoughts on the Weiss report, top crypto, Steam, EOS, and Cardano. I believe, if I'm not mistaken, I think it was Neo the first one that got an A- rating. I think so. I would take the Weiss ratings with a grain of salt. They're interesting. It's another discussion point, but I don't think there's anything about the Weiss ratings that seems incredibly interesting or like there's an amazing amount of diligence behind them. You could certainly debate a lot of what's in there. I don't know if I like Steam, but I don't know if Steam is more valuable than like Bitcoin or some of these other ones out there as well. So, yeah, the ratings were a little bit interesting. And to say that Neo, and I like Neo, I'm bullish on Neo. I don't own any Neo, but because I only have so much money to go around. But I don't know if Neo, I would say, is the number one cryptocurrency from a ratings perspective. So that would be my, that's just kind of my overall thoughts. So, but it's hard to say, everybody's biased. If you have Neo, you might think the Weiss cryptocurrency ratings are the best thing ever because Neo is the highest ranking cryptocurrency there. Or you might really like it because you have EOS or you might have something else. But on the other end of the spectrum, if you have some cryptocurrency that's a D+, you're like, oh, the Weiss ratings are BS. So got to take everything with a grain of salt as you continue to evaluate everything. Somebody said, any truth to the Ripple Coinbase theory? Brad and Nassif on Fast Money this coming Tuesday. Personally, I wouldn't doubt if Ripple gets added to Coinbase. I could give two craps about what gets listed. Thanks, Mike. Appreciate that, brother. If you have a question, let me know. But I could give two craps about what gets listed on Coinbase. I'm going to be really honest. Everybody's like, the comments on every Coinbase tweet are hilarious because if you scroll down, it's just all these like Ripple fanboys being like, when XRP listing. It's like, who cares? You're on a billion other exchanges. It's not that big of a deal. Will it provide a short-term price pop if XRP gets listed on Coinbase? Absolutely. It 100% will. Will that be sustainable? Look at BCH. Where's our friends? What do we got here? Let's look at... Let's pop back 3 months. Here was the Coinbase listing. Was it sustainable? No, not really. So basically back to where we were. So I don't think it matters. Like everybody wants to guess what's the next coin on Coinbase. Doesn't make that much of a damn difference. Will it be easier for you to buy it? Will it provide a short-term price spike? Yeah, for sure. But does it really matter? No, not at least in my mind, not really. It's from my opinion, it's not worth speculating about, I guess is what I'm trying to say. A lot of people try and speculate what's next. It's going to be what Coinbase says is next. Michael James, appreciate that. I think the last Bitcoin run at the expense of alts was heavily influenced by the gold and 2x forks. That was the main reason alts suffered after the fork. Alts rose with Bitcoin to 20,000. Thoughts? Yeah, that's a good point for sure. Because Bitcoin's run, I don't know, because it's interesting because obviously the SegWit 2x fork got canceled. I don't know how much people, I think some people bought into Bitcoin. Bitcoin Gold definitely had an effect in terms of the overall price of crypto, of Bitcoin, but as far as it being the one specific reasoning, I don't know. There's a lot of different things that are kind of going on with that. So, but I do think when you look at it, forks are kind of like an additional wrinkle that you have to consider. I don't think there were some people that were saying that Bitcoin private was a reason for the recent run with Bitcoin, and I disagreed with that personally because if you really wanted Bitcoin private, you would have just bought ZCL. There's not that much of a reward for owning Bitcoin specifically to get the Bitcoin private. You would have just bought ZCL. So I disagreed with that sentiment. But Bitcoin Gold, I know some people were buying Bitcoin to get Bitcoin Gold and also SegWit and SegWit 2x because it's basically a dividend of the SegWit 2x fork never happened. So Osman said EU time zone at last, man. Yeah, sorry for anybody in Europe. I usually do my live streams at whatever 9 o'clock at night, 7 maybe Eastern time. So I know it's not exactly convenient for anybody in Europe, but hopefully this makes up for it a little bit. How am I feeling about AST's recent price action? I'm positive on AirSwap's obviously taking a hit. 0x is taking a hit. VeChain's taking a hit. A lot of my altcoins have taken a hit. I don't think we're necessarily right near altcoin season or like on the cusp of alt season, as everybody likes to say. I do want to have some heavy exposure to altcoins. I kind of like the 50% right now, that 40% Bitcoin Monero, 45% Bitcoin Monero together. And then from there, the rest in altcoins. And AirSwap, VeChain, definitely some of them. VeChain has gotten crushed after the rebranding. Kind of sucks too, because I've been in on VeChain since pretty early, and it's one that just hasn't done well at all. And in an ideal world, I would have sold it off prior to the rebrand, but it's been like a very passive hold for me. I haven't even done a ton of like just continued research on it, which I really should have, since it grew to a pretty significant portion of my portfolio. But yeah, I don't. It is what it is. Somebody said, am I still holding Bloom? Yes, I am still holding Bloom. It hasn't really taken off like I would have hoped, but I do hoping it gets listed on an exchange outside of IDEX and Ether Delta. Rohan mentioned, did I sell Z Classic? Yes, I sold my Z Classic prior to the fork, or prior to the snapshot at probably like within 12 hours prior to the snapshot, right after Bittrex announced that they were going to be crediting DCL holders with BTCP, but not listing BTCP. I used that as an opportunity to get out at a very, very slight gain. I think I made maybe 10% on the trade, but I just wasn't a big. I expected more. I expected more exchange support from for Bitcoin Private. I was expecting Bittrex to support Bitcoin Private. I was expecting some other kind of thought process. I was expecting some other things outside of that, and I was a little bit disappointed to see like the lack of. I felt like Bitcoin Private had done a pretty good job developing like a community. There are a lot of people that were very interested in Bitcoin Private, but I didn't see the exchange backing. And as soon as Bittrex announced it, the price spiked up, and I basically was able to exit my position. Although if Bitcoin, I've seen some people saying Bitcoin Private is now trading above $200. So if that is the case, then that wasn't the best move for me. I basically would have doubled my money if I'd kept it. So we'll have to see what ends up happening and what the listing on Bitcoin Private, how that's going to end up there. Somebody said, so what am I going to do with VeChain? I'm going to hold on to VeChain at this point in time. Yeah, I'm holding on to VeChain. I'm still up a pretty significant amount. Perhaps that's a dumb move, but yeah, I'm still up probably above 5x on VeChain. I have never sold it, for better or for worse. So, and somebody mentioned, you have any BAT? I do have a small portion of basic attention token from basically just from using Brave browser, and then I have an affiliate link. So if you don't have Brave browser and if you want to sign up, there's the link. There's the link in the chat if you want to check out the Brave browser. It's what I'm using right here. Blocks all your advertisements, so you don't have to see James Altucher every 5 seconds. And yeah, if you sign up for that, I think I get $5. I personally get $5 worth of basic attention token. It's free to download, but if you use that link, you help me out. I get $5 worth of basic attention token. That's where the majority of my basic attention token holding is right now, is just from that the referral links on that. But I am bullish. I do think that they just added Twitch, an integration with Twitch, and they obviously have the integration with YouTube as well. So I think the more and more they get intertwined with content makers, Brave and the basic attention token team are really, I think, on the forefront of innovating, which I'm pretty excited to see. And trying to answer as many of these questions as possible. But like I said, if you have anything you absolutely must have answered, throw it in the super chat. I will get to that. Claudia Boy, thoughts on Drop Hill ICO and Telcoin? I don't know too much about the Drop Hill ICO. I don't know too much about these guys. Telcoin, I'm not massively interested in. Just not my like personal cup of tea when it comes down to what I'm looking for a platform. So that's not like my biggest area of interest at this point in time. Let's see. Can you buy this in the US? If you can, I don't know. ICOs that are doing main sales are a little, in some cases, might be a little bit sketchy to me. I need to do more research on these guys. It looks like they're a decent. I guess it's a decent. I don't even know. Intelligent trading system. Yeah, I'd have to check these guys out further before I make any actual comments on them. Garrett Lucas, don't really need a question answered. Well, I appreciate that, brother. Just chipping in, so thank you for that. But if you happen to know the 3 next moon coins that will be good, I'm gonna rub my crystal ball and just talk about absolutely nothing. But like I said the other day, I am heavily weighted, or getting more and more heavily weighted into Bitcoin and Monero. I kind of like both for the time being. Before the next altcoin season hits, I think Bitcoin and Monero will both do well. I think for when you look at the valuation, at least in my mind, of Monero, where we got current market cap. You know, I'm very interested in EOS. I'm very interested in Stellar. I'm very interested in Cardano, Neo, even Litecoin. But I see no reason why Monero shouldn't be more valuable than all of those. That's just my personal opinion. Does that mean that it's going to come true? No. But I don't see any reason why it wouldn't be. So I do think there's going to be a little FOMO period for Monero as it continues to pick up steam. We'll have to see. But I'm looking for more and more exposure into Monero. Have I looked into Fusion yet? FSN. I have not gotten a chance to do so. Yeah, I haven't gotten a chance to look into Fusion at all yet. We'll have to hop on that. Yeah, I don't know too much about Fusion, so I'll have to hop into that a little bit further, but I haven't gotten a chance to research it. Kay mentioned, do you think most people are buying Monero, are buying it for Monero or for the fork? So there's the Monero V fork, which Fluffy Pony, Ricardo Spagni, I don't know if I'm pronouncing his name correctly, but Fluffy Pony has kind of come out and said Monero V is an absolute joke. I think there might be another fork or some airdrop associated with Monero, but I'm not buying Monero for that. I hope that's not the reason for the increase in price, but sometimes that is a reason for speculation, and that's a reason that people pump up the price prior to. So I'll have to look at that a little bit more about kind of how that's functioning. The one thing I would say is if D Classic and if Ethereum Classic recently have gone to show anything again, or gone to confirm things again, buying into a fork, you don't want to hold through the fork. I hope, who knows, because I'm a Monero right now, I'm a Monero hodler, and I want to hold Monero for the long term. But I kind of hope that the Monero V crap coin fork, whatever it is not something that's driving the price of, not something that's driving the price of Monero. We'll have to see though. Could be the case. Thoughts on bulletproofs for BTC? That's been an interesting question that's come up a few different times. That's probably the next thing I want to dive into a little bit more from a research standpoint. I'm not incredibly sound on my research when it comes down to bulletproofs, so I'd like to dive into that a little bit more. Sharon, WAN chain, it's not on exchanges yet, so I think that's like one of the most hyped. I mean, I don't know. I like it. Like I've literally met the co-founder in person, or the president of WANchain in person. I met the WANchain team when I was at the Bitcoin Miami conference, the North American Bitcoin conference in Miami. I was got to hang out with the team a little bit. They had they did a really nice event. while Dash was having an event at a strip club and got in a lot of trouble for that. Wanchain had a nice little nerdy event with some nice free drinks and some pretty good food. So I dug that. And I like what they're doing. I think it's a really, really interesting project. I've gone through the white paper, but I do think that there are a lot of people that participated in the white paper that are participating in the ICO that are just pumping it up. And the reason being is the second it hits an exchange so that they can dump their bags on you for a higher price. I think, at least there are a lot of people out there that that in my mind are like doing that. And yeah, I don't like, I like it, but I don't know if the hype is, I think the hype is warranted, but you got to be careful there, because the people that are hyping it, did they invest in the ICO? Probably. So John Van Loon, can the SEC also take action on previous ICOs which have already released their token coin? Yes, I believe so. And that's kind of one of the big things about the SEC subpoenas that's worrying me a little bit, is a lot of people just think like, a lot of people are just thinking like, oh, you know, this is just going to affect crap coins. This is just going to affect like the BitConnects and the Devors or like stuff like that, or crappy ICOs. Might not be the case. I would venture to say, and I don't know specifically, but I mean, one of the big ones that got a subpoena is T0, or from Overstock.com, massive publicly traded company creating a separate arm to run a securities framework that is going to be working with Polymath. T0 is, by all accounts, a pretty legit project, raising $250 million via an ICO, only to accredited investors, yet they were subpoenaed. So that is definitely, like, that goes to show it's not just going to BitConnect, and it's not just going to like the Devors. It is potentially going to some pretty established projects with some of the best legal teams out there. So you have to take that into consideration. And I think a lot of people are just brushing it under the rug and being like, yeah, you know, it's not going to affect me. But like, you know, Ethereum was an ICO. Somebody mentioned, why is there speculation of ZRX being listed on Coinbase? I have one super chat, but I'll get to that in a second. But yeah, we'll go over to ZeroX. I'll show you pretty quickly. ZeroX protocol. Let's see, ZeroX project. Let's look at the team real quick. What do we got? The team is about. One of the big reasons why, at least in my mind, the advisors, why there's speculation about it. The advisors, Fred Ersham is the former co-founder of Coinbase. Olaf Carlson Wee is the second or third employee of Coinbase. And Linda Z is previously a project manager at Coinbase. So when you look at ZeroX, people say it might get listed on Coinbase. The board of advisors is basically, outside of Joey Krug, all ex-Coinbase employees. So they definitely have a close connection with that. So that is, at least in my mind, something that powers some of those rumors for sure. Mike Simmons, there's 2 legit class actions against Coinbase. Now is the time for Blockport to replace Coinbase. I don't think anybody's replacing Coinbase. People can sue Coinbase all they want. Coinbase is making over $1 billion a year and has the legal team to beat the crap probably out of some of these class action lawsuits, in my opinion. RepuX ICO, I haven't gotten a chance to take a look at that. I'll look into that maybe a little bit further. And the Polyswarm ICO, it's not available to U.S. citizens. So, but I've met multiple members of the Polyswarm team. I like the Polyswarm folks a lot. I do think it's a really interesting project. But yeah, it's not available to U.S. citizens. So at this point in time, haven't gotten a chance to do that for me personally. Slugger 5X, why does on-chain FX have Bitcoin dominance at 45%, coin market cap has it as 42%? I think it's because on-chain FX has only 65 assets listed, whereas coin market cap has about 1,500. So I think they have a different calculation as far as the Bitcoin dominance. I don't know which one is the ideal scenario, but perhaps coin market cap, if it has more assets listed, I don't really know. But that's the reason for the difference there. Oh, yeah. So somebody said Bitcoin just took a nice little dive. See what happened. Yep, there we go. Somebody press market sell. What do we got? Thanks for the call out, whoever's watching. Bitcoin just 1.5%. It's dipping. It's selling off. People saying Bitcoin tanking. I don't know if tanking is the right word. I mean, it's down 1 to 2% in the past 10 minutes, but yeah, a little bit of sell volume coming in for sure. Check out Chairman Chris Giancarlo on Twitter, Crypto Dad. Yeah, Chris Giancarlo is the man. He is. He's definitely crypto dad. Yeah, let's look at these 1 minute candles. Let's straight crack cocaine. Looks a little bit different on the 1 hour, but so looking at some of these questions as well. Peter Sven, opinion on Nano. I think there is one resident Nano expert here, and that's Kyle Babcock. So you might want to hit him up for that. Ripple. I'm not a big Ripple guy. A lot of you guys know that. Just not my cup of tea. Doesn't mean it can't be your cup of tea. So that's just that's not my Ripple's not my jam. Doesn't mean maybe I wouldn't trade it, but Ripple has not recovered nearly as much as a lot of the other altcoins have. I mean, or even just Bitcoin is only down 43% from its all-time high. Ethereum's down 40%. Neo's down 36%. Litecoin's only down 44%. Meanwhile, you got Ripple down 76% from its all-time high. Yeah, it's gotten worked pretty good. So somebody mentioned the Legolas ICO release tanking bad. I'll have to check it out. I don't know if it's on CoinMarketCap. I thought Legolas was interesting. Legends Room. The old strip club in Vegas with their own token. How much is that worth? 5 BTC of volume. But yeah, I didn't get a chance to participate in the ICO because it wasn't available to US citizens, but I thought the Legolas ICO is fairly interesting. What do you think about cybersecurity projects like Hacken or QuantStamp? Do you think the demand for it would increase in the future? I think Hacken and QuantStamp are kind of different use cases. Polyswarm is another one that we just spoke about that I think is interesting too. QuantStamp is probably the one that I think maybe more so than something like Hacken is interesting to me, and that is because smart contracts are when I look at a lot of the stuff going on, everybody says decentralize. Everybody says decentralize everything. Everybody says decentralize this, decentralize that. Fantastic, decentralize it, whatever. No centralization. But one of the big flaws in that is you're trusting somebody to actually write. For the most part, the big area or the big flaw or like the bottleneck, the choke neck there is the fact that you're trusting somebody to write a smart contract. Most of the time right now it's on the Ethereum network. It's using Solidity. You're trusting somebody to write a smart contract that is going to actually function the way it's supposed to function. And there have been a lot of cases where smart contracts have not worked as they were intended to work. If you're not familiar with the Parity multisig wallet, go back and check that out. Literally some random dude on Twitter, I forget his name, some random dude on Twitter just tweeted out one time. He's like, oops, I think I killed Parity I think I killed it. And he wrote like one, he had one call, and the second he did that, it shut down it froze the entire multisig Parity wallet, which is created by one of the co-founders of Ethereum. So if the co-founder of Ethereum can't write a successful smart contract, it goes to show how difficult that is, which is why I think QuantStamp is interesting, because somebody being able to actually audit smart contracts for proper security, I think, is a massive deal. And I do think that the utility behind that is something that needs to kind of continue to improve. I had QuantStat in my portfolio. I recently moved that over to Bitcoin and Monero. That was kind of part of my portfolio. I moved to Bitcoin and Monero, but I am looking to reacquire QuantStamp in the near future. Hacking, I haven't looked into it as much. Diego 93, y'all ever get bored, bored of talking about the same thing every day? No. Imo, what's up? Thoughts on Numair? The hedge fund, right? What is this? Up 20 mil. Data science, kind of like a data science based hedge fund. I've looked into it a little bit. There's some big backers behind it for sure. I mean, when you talk about the people behind it, the investors, massive investors, and when you consider the market cap, it's pretty damn small. $28 million market cap. When you consider Fred Ersham behind it, Juan Benet, who was just speaking at the Blockstack conference in Berlin, which looks sick. They had Ari Paul there. They had Edward Snowden. I don't know if you like or hate him. I don't really care one way or another. They had a lot of really interesting people at that Blockstack Berlin event, though. But Juan Benet was there, or Benet, however you pronounce it. Joey Krug, another, and Olaf Carlson Wee, Union Square Ventures. They have some pretty legit investors and advisors for such a small crypto. But yeah, it's not one that I have any money in, but I might have to dive into it, especially now that I've kind of reacquainted myself with the advisory team and everything there. And you look at the market cap, and it's pretty damn minuscule, and it's really never pumped outside of maybe the initial ICO praise. There's a trade nat. So it's on Bittrex. That's not too bad. But if that could get onto a Binance or to anything else too, that'd be interesting. Taking a look at some of these questions. Check out Bitcoin Z, please. Now I'm going to pass on that one, bro. Somebody said credits A-Chain, high performance blockchain, HPB, Zilliqa, Cardano, EOS, R-Chain. Which one of the Ethereum killers will do better this year, according to you? I'm not a big fan of credits. I met the team from credits. I wasn't super impressed, to be honest with you. I haven't looked into A-Chain as much. High performance blockchain, I have friends that are pretty bullish on. I don't have any high performance blockchain. I have friends that are bullish on Zilliqa. I've made previously a ton of money on Cardano. Cardano has just gotten absolutely worked in the past. Since the run-up in January, Cardano has fallen off a cliff, US dollar-wise and Bitcoin trading-wise, so that's not great. EOS is picking up actually a decent amount of steam, and R-Chain is one that I recently opened up a position in, and R-Chain's actually done pretty well for me too. So, I mean, out of all those, I need to do more diligence on HPB, on high-performance blockchain, and Zilliqa. I do still have a holding of Cardano. Need to look into EOS a little bit more as far as opening up a portfolio, and I do have a position in R-Chain. The only one out of that, I don't really know that much about A-Chain personally, and credits, I'm just not a massive fan of. I think there's other ones out there that I'd be more interested in than credits personally. Just wasn't like, for me, I see other ones out there that I'm more interested in. Somebody mentioned Tezos. Viking Fitness, Bobby, the Polyswarm ICO, the cap is 50 mil. Do you think it's too much? So I don't think Polyswarm is going to fill out that 50 mil. I don't think they're even close. They're probably halfway there. But I do think that because they're redistributing the tokens after that they don't sell out, I do think that's what happened with Dragon Chain, and Dragon Chain crushed it. A lot of people didn't invest in Dragon Chain because it was an uncapped ICO. And when it was uncapped, it didn't come anywhere. It didn't really sell that much. I think it only sold like 10 mil. At least that's kind of my recollection. I could certainly be wrong there. But they've redistributed tokens to the investors, and the same could happen with Polyswarm. So that makes me, even though the raise it's a pretty aggressive raise, I don't think they're going to sell out. And if they redistribute tokens, I think it should be fine. Be ready to buy Bitcoin at 300,000. 3,000? 3,000K? I don't know. So Claudio Box said, great work. And yes, you can buy Dropple in the USA. If you can buy Dropple in the USA, I'd be very wary about that because the SEC has come out and said, we're going to just drop a freaking hammer on your ass if you run an ICO to non-accredited investors in the US. Somebody hit me up yesterday. As far as they were an accredited investor in the US and they were an accredited investor in the US and they put money in and they're actually, I guess, getting a refund from some company that was doing an ICO because they were scared about the regulatory environment. So take that with a grain of salt. But public sale ICOs in the US non-accredited investors, they kind of give me the heebie-jeebies. Calixto Garcia, what's up, man? I just want to say thank you. I appreciate that. Very, very kind of you. Thank you so much for that. And DJ, what's up, brother? This is, thank you very much for that. If I had to pick a coin for you to shill, it would be MOD. M-O-D. What do we got here, brother? Modem. I have some friends that, one of my buddies that is in my like meetup group that I hang out with quite a bit in the city, in New York. Is got in on the modem ICO and is very much like a modem guy. I don't think he sold anything from the ICO. So I don't have any modem. I think supply chain and blockchain, I'm a big fan of. VeChain has been, VeChain has been nice. It's kind of not fully supply chain, but kind of supply chain. But I have Wabi. I 3-4x'd Origin Trail, which was awesome. That was a sick ICO. That was a sick trade. But Origin Trail was one that was nice. And yeah, supply chain is a really interesting, definitely a really interesting kind of area, and I think something that is truly applicable to blockchain. And there's been a lot of pretty nice performing projects when it's come down to supply chain. So I don't have any modem, but a couple of my friends that I respect are big fans of it. Robert S. Something about withdrawal from KuCoin taking 7 hours now, still processing. That's unfortunate. I don't use KuCoin too often. I think the only reason I signed up for it was for our chain. But yeah, I haven't had any specific issues with it at this point in time. Thank you, Mr. Fudd. You're welcome. Bobby the Fudder back in action, baby. As always. How about you, Salt Lending? I have not, but I'm very interested in not BitConnect lending, but like actually like Salt Lending is pretty interesting because it's offering up your Bitcoin as collateral for loans, for US dollar loans, so that you don't have to pay taxes, and there's a lot of other benefits to that. So Salt Lending is really interesting. I don't know if I'm bullish necessarily in the token, but the actual platform of the idea of Salt is really interesting. So like here, we can pop over that and I'll just talk. And again, I don't have any Salt. I don't necessarily know if the token is going to benefit from this at all. But why I think Salt is cool is because you can basically get cash. Like, let's say I have $20,000 of Bitcoin. I want to redo my bathroom in my house. I want to buy a new toilet and a shower. I got $10,000 of Bitcoin. I'll send them my Bitcoin. I'll use that as collateral. They'll give me $10,000 in cash, or something of that nature. I don't know the exact kind of how the Bitcoin to loan, the collateral to loan ratio that you might need, but it is. I think it's pretty the way that you can kind of leverage it and how you can go through the process with Salt. I met the Salt team in Miami as well. I was pretty impressed by them too. So yeah, Crypto and Coffee said, no reason for the Salt token to appreciate. It's a good idea, but not a good investment. That very well might be. There are a lot of tokens out there, at least in my mind, that are really cool ideas that might not be a good investment. Salt could be one of those. I haven't really looked at like the actual economics behind the token and whether it makes sense to buy the Salt token in anticipation of price appreciation. But I do think like the business behind Salt is pretty cool, at least in my mind. Yeah, Kyle mentioned the AirSwap marketplace looks really nice. Excited for it. Yeah, I'm pumped for the AirSwap marketplace as well. They just announced that fairly recently. What do we got here? So their decentralized exchange. What do we got? Let's see. So they have a number of new partner tokens that are going to be traded on the AirSwap partner network, which is going to be pretty sweet. But if we go down to it, there are some pretty solid ones that I'm happy to see. I mean, you have Status, you have VeChain, you have 0x, you have Bread, you have Salt, I believe. What do we got? No, Salt. No, oh no, excuse me. That's Basic Attention Token. Archain, Storm. There's some pretty EOS, Elf. There's some pretty solid projects there that I'm excited about. OMG, Omise Go. So that should be it should be nice to see AirSwap kind of get in the mix there. I'm pumped to see kind of how they start adding some competition to the decentralized exchange space right now in mid-March when this comes out. Let's see, when is this? I think it's March 15th or so. Yep. So this goes into beta on March 15th. So I'm pumped to see that in action for sure. Am I still bullish on Bread? I sold my BRD. At this point, I'm not massively bullish on it. I was bullish on Bread when I was bullish on everything in kind of the December to early January altcoin season. So sometimes they get a little bit overexcited, and that was kind of that point in time for me. Somebody said, am I still bullish on ZCL? There's no reason to be bullish on ZCL anymore. ZCL, at least for me, was solely a trade to speculate on the future value of look at this damn chart. ZCL was solely a trade to speculate on the future value of what Bitcoin private would be worth. Now there is no more. The snapshot is over. You will never get Bitcoin private by holding ZCL again. So unless somebody comes back and forks another shitcoin off of ZCL, there is no reason to be bullish at all at 4Z Classic. I wouldn't touch this. I mean, I personally sold it off, but I wouldn't touch it with a 10-foot pole right now. Robert S. still in 0x. Yes, I am. So looking at some of these questions, do I have any Storm in my bag? I do not at this point in time. Billy Naff, could the governments make crypto illegal? I don't believe the governments want to. At least I don't believe the United States. I mean, I'm in the U.S. I'm in the U.S. I don't believe the U.S. has any intention of making cryptocurrencies illegal. I think the SEC and the CFTC both are like the two regulating bodies who would probably be most involved with that regulation. Have come out and said, for the most part, positive things about cryptocurrencies. The one area where regulation, I believe, will happen is around initial coin offerings and ICOs. You can see that with the subpoenas that have been sent out recently to projects like T0. Apparently, according to the New York Times, up to 80 companies and individuals received subpoenas about having ICOs or recently held ICOs. So I do think that's going to be the one area of, at least in my mind, of potential regulation. I think regulation is coming there. There's going to be kind of strict laws because people aren't allowed to sell unlicensed securities, and securities agencies want to make money on listing fees and all that good type of stuff. So whatever. But yeah. But could they if they wanted to? Good question, Ryan. I mean, the way for governments to ban, or the U.S. government at least to ban cryptocurrency, would be to turn off the fiat to crypto on-ramp and make it very difficult to get into crypto, kind of like they did with China. So basically making it so companies and businesses like Coinbase or like Gemini or like Robinhood, if they essentially outlaw those businesses, that would be how they would ban that. But once you get into crypto, it's really hard to stop. Like once you get Bitcoin or once you get Ethereum, it's real, or Litecoin, it's really, from Coinbase or from Gemini, it's really hard to stop somebody from taking that Bitcoin and moving it to Shapeshift or moving it to an exchange in Korea or wherever, to trade that for something else. So that's the biggest like choke point is definitely, at least in my mind, the biggest choke point right now is around the fiat to crypto on ramps. Where do I get them buffalo chicken wraps? There's some local place by me that I usually go to. It is my jam, man. It's my jam. But I had a good one. I was skiing in Hunter Mountain a couple days ago. Went to some random dive bar, buffalo chicken wrap, onion rings, and a nice ice cold stout beer. I was living large. I was definitely enjoying that one. So what do we have here? I don't think it snowed. I don't think it snowed in Whiteface. What do we got? I'll pop over to some questions. INXT close to market. Need to work on that name. A little bit small for me. I usually, I want to say I stick to projects typically above like 15 mil in market cap. So 6 mil is a little bit small. I mean, the volume's like that scares me. Like, you accumulating this would take quite a while if you want to accumulate any level of it. Where's it trading? I don't even know those exchanges. It's Coin Exchange. I don't even know what the hell that is. Yeah, I'd have to look into these guys further. So I don't know exactly what they're trying to do. If they're trying to be like a block stack, or if they're trying to be something like a block stack or an IPFS, or kind of how they're set up. I don't know all that much about it, but yeah, it's that volume's scary. But I mean, if you can just be patient and accumulate what you want, then go for it. As an investor, what conventions will be worth attending in 2018? So that's one thing. Somebody tweeted about this. Today, about the amount of conferences that are happening. There are a ton of crypto conferences happening right now, like a ton of crypto. I've spoken at the NAC3 event twice. It's a smaller conference, maybe like 300 people or so. Definitely a smaller event. On the other end of the house, like I went to the North American Bitcoin conference. That was about 4,000 or 5,000 people. That was massive. Like that was a huge freaking conference. I might be going to the one in Dubai that they're having. I think it's like the World Blockchain Conference. The folks that hosted the Bitcoin Miami conference invited me to go out to Dubai. I've never been to Dubai, so kind of interested in doing that and meeting some new projects and going to Dubai, because that would be pretty freaking sweet. But yeah, there are. Consensus does a good job if you're based in New York City. It's expensive. So, I mean, there's a couple different things that you want to look at when you go to a conference. Number one, I would see the speakers. Try to find conferences where you find the speakers will be interesting to you. Research the speakers. You're going to have to balance price point. Some conferences are a little bit more like catered towards like newbies. Some conferences are more catered, like Consensus, in my opinion, is catered more towards like Wall Street investors. So like the ticket reflects that. The tickets may be $1,000 or $1,500, and most of the speakers are institutional investors or kind of big time business individuals. Whereas some of the other conferences you might go to might just be like ICO Shillfest. So try to research as much as possible. And if it's a conference that's been held before, ideally you're going to go to a conference that's already like taken place before at one point or another, so that it's not the first time that it's happening. And ideally in that scenario, you can send out a tweet or go into like Reddit or somewhere else and say like, hey, has anybody else attended this conference? What are your thoughts about it? Is it worth going to? So I would check that out for sure. What's the best part about going to these conferences, or the best value to me? For me personally, the networking is really important. I think that's awesome. For me, like the Bitcoin Miami conference, like I've spoken at the NAC3 conference, so that's been fun. But for like a conference I went to, the North American Bitcoin conference in Miami, going around like the floor of, they had like a vendor booth, and there were probably 100 different projects, recent ICOs, companies that are ICOing, going around speaking to founders. That's one of the cool things about a lot of these conferences, is you can actually go up to the founder of WanChain and be like, hey man, how's it going? What's up with your project? Can you talk to me about your project? What's going on? You can be like, I'm a nobody, but I can walk up to the president of a company that has a project that maybe is worth $500 million or $1 billion. And I can go up to him and be like, hey, how's it going? My name is Rob. Nice to meet you. And ask them questions, and you can get a really cool feel for like what they're trying to do. So that's interesting. So if you're like considering investing in a project too, you can do that. Tinder or Bumble? I'm old, and I've never used either of those. Yeah. Comment on Neo blockchain issues. I haven't gotten a chance to dive into kind of any of the issues with Neo recently. I don't know if there's something that's recently popped up or not. Neo definitely has its share of shortcomings. I do think long term, I am pretty bullish on Neo. I don't own any, but I do kind of like how they're approaching things. But I do think that they have their share of like centralization of nodes. Um, they've had some stretches where the actual network has been down. They're not perfect. A lot of these projects are not perfect by any stretch. So I don't know specifically what you might be referring to there, but I do think that there is more positive than negative to Neo overall, at least in my opinion. Do I short any cryptos, and how do you go about doing it? If you're not in the US, you can go to BitMEX. BitMEX is allows you to margin trade, and you can short with anywhere from 1x to, or you can go long or short anywhere from 1x, so even money, all the way up to like 100x Bitcoin. Do not go 100x unless you're an absolute psychopath and you want to get liquidated and lose your money. But BitMEX is one good place to go if you're in the US, demo accounts only. But outside of that, you typically have to be an accredited investor, I believe, in the US to do margin trading. So that's kind of the one thing that if you want to try that out, you definitely can. If you're not in the US, BitMEX is probably the most established place to do so. It settles with Bitcoin as well. There's no KYC. Pretty easy to get rolling with and pretty easy to figure out. Yeah, OKX allows it too. I don't know. Do you have to be an accredited investor for OKX, or do they allow US investors? I have no idea. I haven't used OKX. Opinions on Ncash predictions, coin checkup made. I have, as far as Ncash goes, I haven't really played around with Ncash at all. Haven't looked into it too much. It's on Binance off the bat, which is, I guess, good for them. Just means that they paid a bunch of money to get listed on Binance. Is really what that means. But I didn't participate in the Nucleus Vision ICO. I know this is one of the old Ian Bellina projects. So that you may view that as a good thing, you may view that as a bad thing. I think he's an advisor on this. This is like his second advisory board, I think, outside of maybe Icon. But I haven't looked into Nucleus Vision too much. I think it popped up pretty nicely. I think it pulled a 3-4x, if I'm not mistaken. Pretty damn heavy 3-4x on the right, kind of off the bat. So yeah, I haven't dove into it. So they have Waxman as a PR agency too. I think that's a positive thing. Waxman's PR is pretty legit, and they take on some solid projects as well. And you're looking at the rest of these, it might be pretty solid. But I haven't done a full round of diligence on Ncash at this point in time. Laughing at that, Viking Fitness. Somebody said BitConnect YouTubers are going on court summons. I'm so sorry, man. I'm so sorry that they scammed countless people out of a shit ton of money, and now they have to go to court with their millions of dollars that they pretended that they got hacked. What are they gonna do? What am I gonna do? Feel so bad for them. Feel so bad for them. You feel the sarcasm in my voice. Adam C, thoughts on titanium? I think titanium is like, I'd rather puke than I think I'd rather just puke my brains out for like 4 days straight than have to buy titanium. I mean, if I'm looking at titanium, I think I'd rather buy Titcoin and Tittycoin than I'd rather buy titanium blockchain. I'm just not a fan of. I don't know. I don't even think they have a proper market cap right now. They got hacked, and look at it. Oh wow, yeah. What is it now? T-bar? Is it T-bar? Yeah, they got hacked. They got their faces ripped off. Yeah, I called this project out because somebody was shilling titanium, saying, bar is great. It's dipping. It's a great investment. And you look at the ICO, or you look at the white paper, they're literally not doing anything. They haven't done anything. Like, why would you put $1 of your money into this crap? There are so many better projects out there. And then, I don't remember when my tweet was. It was somewhere around here or something. There was a market cap at one point in time. Now it's literally worth nothing because they forked it to create T-bar or bar or whatever the hell it's called. I don't know. Anyone set up BTCP wallets yet? I have not. I don't plan on buying BTCP for the time being. Bitcoin private. I don't plan on doing that. You get paid by David Gockstein. Who's David Gockstein? But since I don't get paid by him and don't know who he is, I don't think I get paid by him. Yeah, Tron looks like Ethereum or Bitcoin compared to Bar. Like, Bar is just total dog crap. Nick Foles, the Jets, is a terrible move for the Jets. They need a young franchise QB for once. I'm not on Twitter right now, but if you're telling me the Jets just signed Nick Foles, I'm going to jump out the window. But please tell me that's not the case. That's just rumors and speculation. I am not in on credits. I talked before, I'm not the biggest fan of it. They're alpha, 200 transactions per second, plans for 1 million. I'll believe somebody can do 1 million transactions per second when they're doing 1 million transactions per second, but until then, I think that's marketing fluff. Thoughts on ETC? I ditched my Ethereum Classic recently. I bought it, basically broke even, maybe made a little bit, but I ditched Ethereum Classic recently. It's kind of, I think their support, has not done well in the past week. I ditched it at maybe 33,000 or 333,000 satoshis. Yeah, 333,000 satoshis is kind of where I ditched it, and it's fallen off in the past week. What do we have? ETC's dipped pretty hard. I think some of this might be due to the fork. There's the snapshot, the Ballisto Snapchat. Yeah. Crypto Twitter, a lot of the OGs are like big ETC fans, and it's a Barry coin, Barry Silbert. Happy Saturday, Evelyn. Ryan, what's up, brother? But yeah, ETC is backed by Barry Silbert, as is Zcash and some other ones. But ETC is just, everybody always wants ETC to run, and it just never does it for me, and it's really fallen off a cliff. I ditched it. Very thankful that I did, because it's fallen off pretty hard. Yeah, it's brought Sanchez back. Don't you say that, James. Don't you say that. Thoughts on autonomy, Orchid Protocol, Origin Protocol. I met the autonomy team at, speaking of like, good reasons to go to a conference. I met the autonomy team at the Bitcoin Miami conference. I was pretty impressed by what they're doing. I was pretty impressed by the existing business that they have in place and things like that. I have not invested in the autonomy ICO. I don't necessarily have plans to, but I do think that's one to keep an eye out on for. Autonomy, ATONOMI is the one. We can pull it up here, but yeah, autonomy is definitely an interesting SEO. Yeah, these guys are interesting for sure. I'm keeping an eye on them. Thank you, Ross. I appreciate that, man. Very kind of you. Courage, Andy. It's a rough road, man. Rough road. Yeah, Anthony S. Hit the like button and stuff. Smash that like button. I feel like I can't say that phrase because everybody else says it, but smash the likes. Endor, please. I don't know anything about Endor. Any tools, recommendations, keeping track of trades and money in crypto other than Delta Blockfolio? I would use either cointracking.info or bitcoin.tax. Both have links to the descriptions in their links in the description below if you guys want to check those out. Cointracking.info has a little bit more functionality, but bitcoin.tax is pretty solid just for P&L tracking, things like that. That you can use on a pretty consistent basis. Bitcoin.tax is a lot cheaper than cointracking.info, but cointracking.info has some more like dashboards and pretty functionality and things like that you can check out. What do you think about Track? Origin Trail. I got into Origin Trail pretty early on and made a pretty solid return on investment and then kind of exited my entire position as I saw Bitcoin started to make a run. But Origin or Track crushed it initially post ICO. Got in on the ICO. That was a solid one to be in on. But it's definitely fallen off a bit since. It's up to, I think it was up to 40 cents. I got rid of a little bit of 40 cents and a little bit of 30 cents. And now it is what? Now it's back around 20 cents. So I'm happy that I was able to move a lot of that and take some profit there with take some profit on that. But overall, I'm pretty positive on Origin Trail. But when you get 3-4x profit, sometimes it's smart to just take that profit and move on to the next one. What do you think about Tron? I make fun of Tron probably too much, so I'm sorry if you invested in Tron. Tron's trying to accomplish a lot. There are many tokens out there, many cryptocurrencies that have a very high valuation in comparison to what they've actually delivered. Tron might be one of those with a $3 billion valuation. It's still down 84% from its all-time high. God bless the poor souls that bought Tron at, what was it, 30? What was the ATH of Tron? Tron's trading at 5 cents right now. God bless the poor souls that bought Tron at 30 cents. Pouring one out for you. RIP in peace. But yeah, that's I don't know. I'm a little bit merciless on Tron, so sorry for anybody that bought that at any point in time because I make fun of it all the time. But I don't hate you. My friend bought Tron at 30 cents. Your former friend? My dad bought Tron at 28 cents. Did your dad disown you as a son for not telling him not to? Come on, Peter. Guys, at this point, I'm going to chill out. Probably going to do a little bit more research, drink some more coffee, hang out, get some dinner, perhaps a buffalo chicken wrap this evening. We'll have to see. Maybe get some crazy with that. But yeah, gonna head out for the evening. Might make a video later on, see what's going on. But yeah, heard Tron got something big coming up on March 31st. Big announcement. Big announcements coming. I'm announcing that I'm going to be signing off in a few minutes. But I appreciate everybody's time. If you are new to the channel, hit that subscribe button, the notify bell. If you've been around for a while, hit the like button. Helps me get this video out to as many people as possible. So I'd really appreciate it if you could hit that like button. That would be fantastic. Thank you guys so much for your time. Big announcement of an announcement of an announcement of an announcement. March 31st coming up for you later on. Thank you very much, John C. Appreciate everybody. Take it easy. Peace. Peace, everybody.